launch it pretty soon.
Let me know what I need to do to help.
Well, I tell you what, I'll give you the types of jackets,
Okay.
and it's standard jacket stuff. Like most everybody who does that stuff would be able to.
How much power is left on that?
Would be able to.
How much power is on this?
I'm listening. I just think
No, that's fine. No, I'm trying to remember what I'm saying. Would carry, they have it's Sandbar. I mean, Sandbar is here. Anybody who does apparel sales is going to have access to that. So we really could probably do a pretty good comparison.
Let's do it on Sunday. You can have a pair.
Well, let me just make sure that our companies.
They're not.
Dave's not going to make the meeting. Dave is not going to make the meeting. Dave's fine.
NTAD.
I'm like.
So I'm driving to work this morning, and I scan once I get to 82 because we lose the repeater. I'm almost to work, and I hear it come in on the Lorraine repeater. So I contacted the Wilkinsons, who are members of West Park and Lorraine, and I said, why are they? I'm also part of Lorraine. A couple of weeks ago, they talked about in our meeting, the only meeting I've ever attended online, a Zoom meeting. They're setting up a new repeater. So I said, why is SARA on the repeater? Well, they put a new repeater in because I suggested. Have you guys ever thought about All-Star? Apparently they put All-Star in too. So they hook to our barometer net in the morning.
You're the one who loses the signal on 82.
Not on 82, on 77. Past 82.
You're the only one who does this.
I've tried multiple antennas, so I don't know.
I wonder if it's got here.
I don't get it downtown either, so nowhere.
I hit it like about a year or probably almost 2 years ago. No, I hit it from the parking garage outside the top deck of the parking garage.
Well, and every once in a while you get it in our parking lot, but it's like something changes in the atmosphere.
I wonder if there's some interference right where
Could
you
be.
are.
It could be. You get that device?
Yeah, I brought it with me. I'll talk to you about it in just a second.
Okay. All right.
All right, you got 3 minutes by 50-50.
How much?
$5 for 10.
5 for 20? Awesome. You said it was a sale. Beautiful.
The bucket's in the back.
Yeah, I figured that you make us do our own work. Thanks.
Yeah. 3 minutes. 2 minutes.
We're good, man. Hey, look who it is.
Oh, is it going?
What's that? No, we're good. Yeah, we've been going.
All right, if everyone wants to start to get a seat, we're going to start in 2 minutes.
And I just checked we're good. Audio's good. Picture's good. Everything's good, man.
Better starting on time. We gotta be out at 8:45. They're at the door.
Yeah. I'm used to that. Number of clubs, libraries, they get kind of sensitive. Yeah, they're tired.
Oh, look at all the people, man.
Russ, will you grab the door for me? Wait for the exact
The exact moment.
exact moment.
Like counselor.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, everyone. So, welcome to the September meeting here of SARA. We've got a lot of stuff to get through this evening, so should be good. We have Scott Yonley, who is the Vice Director of the Great Lakes Division. He's going to talk to us tonight about kind of give us an ARRL update and talk about new hams and why to get in clubs, why I should get involved with the ARRL. All right. I'd like to go quickly around the room and do our quick introductions as normal. I'm Jason, N80I. I'm the president of, as Gary puts it, the best looking hams in the hobby. So.
I mean, look.
I'm Stefan, N8WB. I'm the vice president.
I'm Scott, N8SY, the Vice Director for the Great Lakes Division.
Aaron, KEALVA.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff, W8TV, treasurer and temporary secretary for tonight.
Kilo Delta 8 Tango Quebec uniform. Mike and Doyle's down there. AB8OU Zeke.
WD8 KNL Eric. WB8 CGV Gary.
KC8 DEO Benny.
KLAD Ken.
KALYM Ed.
Yeah, your turn.
KB8 LNK Ron.
N8FQP Ted.
November 1 Echo Zulu Zulu George. Sure.
N8NOQ Rick.
Sure.
Alpha 8 Charlie Sierra. Morgan Muffle.
The warden muffle. If you can't see it, that is the, read the description there?
A person who is grumpy in the mornings and doesn't like to wake up early.
Hey, yes. Welcome.
Okay, this isn't the mornings.
Wow.
It made me nervous. I may not say it the right way.
Oh, you're good. You're good. All good.
My name is Muriel. Kilo Echo 8 Quebec Golf Hill.
All right.
Awesome.
There we go. Muriel's one of our newer members. I think this is your first meeting, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
I'm like, Gary, she didn't have to write it down.
Good.
I'm Bill, N8LTR.
Fred from Medina, KE8QFT, Uncle Fred. KEPGW, Sulphur Twister.
Don from Marshallville, N8DRD. Brian from Norton, KF8G.
Mark, QF8, Sarah Foxhole, Sarah.
Dick, KE8QKO.
Mike, KE8QWE.
And I'm still clueless, but I'm trying. I'm still working on that.
I have to practice saying his call sign because he slows down on it, which makes me slow down.
Because I'm dumb, man.
There's just something about saying QWE is easy, but Quebec Whiskey Echo isn't. Kilo Delta 8 Sierra Lima Golf, KD8 SLG, Nick in Orville.
KD8EPC, Dustin from Medina.
KB8DYT, Russ from Akron.
All right, thanks. Did everybody sign in? The sign-in sheet? If you didn't, Jeff will send it your way. What I was going to say is for your call sign, you just wait till everybody knows it and then you change it. So, all right. We have no approval of the previous minutes this month because I couldn't find them, and the person who has them is not able to respond to my email. So we'll have to pick up that minutes next month. This is our agenda for this evening. So a couple of announcements, just as a reminder, next month's meeting, 4th Thursday. I know we all get in a habit. I know it's still on my calendar for the 3rd Thursday. Just as a reminder, we're in this building, in this room on the 4th Thursday, October 28th next month.
Jason?
Yeah.
That's because next month on the 3rd Thursday is that scary square up in town here, and Elijah's already involved with that.
Yeah. Ken?
All right, real quick, Mike. I know I sound like a broken record and you're going to get tired of hearing me saying this, but this is the last time I'll have to say it for this meeting. I still need volunteers to help us with the Akron Marathon. The Akron Marathon's coming up on the 25th of September. That's not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday. If you could help with the marathon, I would certainly appreciate it. You can go out to the ARRS website. It's www.summitares.org, and there is a sign-up sheet to sign up there. People have asked me, what do I do with at the marathon? Well, basically what you do is I put you at a mile marker someplace, and you show up at that mile marker before the first runner gets there, and you stay at that mile marker until the last runner goes by, and then you go home. That's basically it. You do have to watch the runners. You have to make sure, if somebody looks like they're going to collapse or something, please, let us know. Call it into the net control. Our net control operators, in case you don't know, in our net control system, we have our net control hands. Right next to us is the Akron Fire Dispatcher, and right next to him is the Akron Police Dispatcher. So we don't even go through 911. If you call it into our net, I can walk right next door right next to me will be like the Akron Fire Dispatcher. I can tap him on the shoulder and say, hey, I need a med unit at this location. And he dispatches the med unit. So there's no 911. We're faster than that. But that's all you have to do. Basically, just watch the runners on the course. Make sure that everybody's safe. Make sure that if it looks like somebody's going to collapse or something, let us know. If somebody does go down, definitely let us know. But that's basically all you have to do.
What do we do for equipment?
For equipment, all you need is an HT that does UHF. We are using the Summit County ARRS repeater system, which is 444.55 with a PL of 131.8. So you just need a handheld HT. That's all you need for it. So that's it. Yes?
Typically, how long are you out there? Typically.
It depends on where you are in the race. Now, when you sign up, there's a little sign up, there's a little comment box. If you tell me, hey, I need to be at an early spot, then I'll put you on an early spot. But generally, obviously, if you're like on mile marker 4, you're going to see the racers really early because they're going to start at 7:30. The race starts at 7:30. And you'll probably be out of there by maybe no later than 10. If you're on a late spot, like mile 25 or 24 or something like that, then you won't see the first runner for at least probably 2 hours, and then probably 2 hours after that before you see the last runner. So you're probably going to be at that spot till possibly noon. But so it just depends on where you are on the course. And again, like if you want an early spot, tell me you want an early spot, and I can give you an early spot. If you need a later spot, I can do that too. If you want to see a map of the course, there is a map on our website, or you can go to the Akron Marathon site, and there's a full map that shows all of the mile markers and where they're located. So if you want to kind of get an idea of where the mile markers are, and if you tell me, hey, I'd really like to be at mile marker 7, I'll see what I can do. I can try to get people, but I can't always guarantee I can put you where you want to be.
I was just curious. Because I want to volunteer, but I'm so new.
Okay.
Well, hey, screw me with this button. Somebody's got to really show me. Push this button, and then you're good.
Yeah.
They got to set me up, and then I'll be fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, you would have to learn. Yeah, it's a good way to learn. And it's nice for the community because it gets us out there and actually shows that ham radio operators, help the community. And that's what we're there to do. We're there to show people that and the racers love us. I mean, people will run by and they'll say thank you. And so, they certainly appreciate us being there for them. I think.
No.
15% of the pay you're making.
Yeah.
They expect a lot of.
Yes.
You mentioned the meeting next Thursday?
Yeah, Summit County Areas will have a meeting next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. It's at the American Red Cross Akron chapter downtown. It's 501 West Market Street, right across from what used to be the old Tangier restaurant. We're going to have our marathon meeting that night. So if you are going to help us work in the marathon, we'd appreciate you being at that meeting next Thursday night because I'll be passing out all your stuff. You get a t-shirt and I'll be passing out the t-shirts and everything at that meeting. If you can't make that meeting, let me know, send me an email or something, and I can certainly try to work out a way to get your stuff to you, your t-shirt and everything to you. But the meeting for the marathon will be next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. at the Akron chapter of the Red Cross, 501 West Market Street, just about downtown Akron.
And Ken, I think it'd be fair to say that if someone's interested, it's not like it's a high pressure situation where you have to.
No.
I mean, it's volunteer, it's low pressure,
Right.
So if you're interested, you don't have to be a seasoned operator to do it.
No,
So,
absolutely not. Yeah. We just need people out there. We need eyes on the course so we can keep track of what's happening on the course.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Treasurer, take off your secretary's hat, put on the treasurer's hat.
All right. As you can see, statement beginning balance 643650. We did have payments to Action Sports Apparel, so for some of the apparel that we purchased. We also purchased the picnic door prize. I wasn't there, so I don't know who got that, but that's a pretty neat little radio.
I forget who won that now.
It is a pretty neat little radio, isn't it?
Did you win
Yeah,
it?
which one?
Gary won it.
No, Gary won.
Gary-
I won.
okay.
I won the one that Ken put on
Okay.
the block,
Oh,
okay.
okay. Great.
the shortwave radio.
Awesome. Then we have an expense for some repeater repair parts. We did have some income, a 50-50 raffle from the picnic, some apparel sales actually at the picnic, and continuing club dues, some still coming in. So fantastic. The ending balance is 6135.20.
Any questions on the treasurer's report? If not, I'll take a motion to accept it.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
And
NAWP.
Second by Zeke. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. All right, so starting this month, we're going to start having a little bit of a different format to the meeting. We're not going to do so much sort of the new business, old business that we've historically done. And you'll see why in a few minutes. But we're going to start basing the meetings around committee reports and activities that way. But we'll talk about that here in just a minute. So the executive committee did meet on the 12th, just this past Sunday. We managed to squeak one in right before the meeting. Everyone's schedules align. We have a couple of topics here that we're going to talk through this morning. The first, of course, is Barry, KI8B. He's decided he's going to retire from SARA leadership. I mean, he's only put in like 25, 30 years. So, I mean, I don't know, whatever. But no, but Barry has decided that he wants to step down for a couple of reasons. And we're going to talk about his replacement in a minute. And we do have some plans to honor Barry, but we'll get to those in some future meetings. So we are going to introduce a new committee model for SARA. As I mentioned, we'll talk about what that's going to look like in a few minutes. The club is going to start having some activities that we really put emphasis on over the course of the year. We're going to talk about that. Some VE, we're going to be making some changes to the VE team, some repeater improvements that we're going to get to, and some 2022 fiscal planning. So I'm going to kind of go through all these topics. It will not be as boring as long as this bullet point list seems to make it. But it is some important changes that we're going to make in how the club operates. So the first item, some of you may know this guy. Dave Spondike, NTAD, who could not be here tonight, has been elected by the executive committee to replace Barry, who is retiring. So he doesn't know what he signed up for. So, but Dave's been a man for more than 25 years. He's been a long-term SARA member, and I'm sure many of you know he's the net manager for the Barometer Net and very active on the airwaves. So Dave's very excited to step up in the club, and I think he's going to make a good trustee. So I was going to applaud him or something, but he's not here. We can applaud him virtually.
Dave actually is at a class. Many of you know he tunes pianos and repairs pianos, and his latest incursion into that field is installing electronic player piano and kind of things.
Interesting.
So Dave gets to take a circular saw to $250,000 instrument,
Nice.
which I think is
Very nice.
better have some pretty good liability issues.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what he's doing tonight. He wanted to just let everybody know how much he appreciates this appointment. And by the way, he also has the SARA Barometer Net Hall of Fame plaque.
That's right.
He so graciously took possession of at the SARA picnic.
Yep. All right. So one of the topics at the executive committee was, we are a much larger club now than we were just a few years ago, and with that we have more people, and we want to both do things for those people, and we want to get more of those people to help us do things. But what we've decided to do is we're going to start to set a group of core activities that are going to be actively supported by the club as sort of our go-to activities every year. And there's a new operations committee that we're going to talk about here in a minute that's going to kind of drive this. The two that we know for sure the club is going to focus on is, of course, ARRL Field Day at the end of June, and the Ohio Simplex Contest, which happens in January. And then the new operations committee is going to pick a couple other events, some suggestions like Ohio QSO Party or CQ Worldwide Sideband. What?
Postponed it.
Yeah, Ohio State Parks in the Air. So there's going to be probably 4 or 5 activities that are going to be sort of the core activities of the group that we're going to kind of do up nice every year. So that's sort of the plan with that. Let's see. Some changes to the VE team. Really, it's not changes as much as we're just doing more VE activity. With COVID and some of the changes, we have lost at least 2 area VE teams that were doing exams. We've decided we have 19 volunteer examiners on our roster right now. We usually use 4 at a session. So we figure we're going to try to put people to work a little bit more. We decided we're going to bump that up to at least 6 sessions throughout the year. And for 2022, the plan is to do 6 sessions. We're going to keep at least 2 in the Wadsworth area, possibly up to 4. We are going to keep the Sharon Center United Methodist Church, which is just north of town on 94. We are going to keep that as our permanent main testing location. By request, we are going to start offering 2 of those exams in Worcester at the Justice Center, thanks to Doug, KE8JNH. And then we're going to talk about maybe doing 2 of the other exams somewhere maybe to the southeast of Akron. I looked at some of the exams that are available, and there's a pretty good mix of exams that are available in the Cleveland, kind of the north of Akron area. But there really is nothing down, Canton, Stark County that way. So there might be an opportunity there for us to do some exam sessions out that way. We're still kind of figuring out what that's going to look like. But the plan is that we're going to get more VEs involved on a rotating team and offer some more geographically dispersed exam sessions. So we are also going to be moving to the exam.tools platform in 2022. That's going to allow us to do the tests more efficiently. It automates all of the sign up process. You can just kind of hold up the test to a screen and it auto grades everything. So we're going to be able to get through the grading and scoring and paperwork process much faster. We've also decided that we're going to start taking credit card payments for the exams in person. We're not going to take them at sign up time, but we are going to get another PayPal card reader and take credit card payments on site for the exams. And the last thing is, this is really a charge to Stefan, is we want to start getting more people involved in club leadership and also make sure that we have, some backups for some of these roles. So we're also going to be starting to look for a assistant volunteer exam coordinator for Stefan. So Stefan's really going to be leading that. If you're interested, maybe talk to him. You do need to be an extra class ham and an ARRL member to do that. So if you're interested, that could be a possibility as well. Any questions on the VE team stuff?
Yeah, who's that Stefan guy?
I don't know.
Okay.
No idea. We just put a random name
I
up there.
figured.
If you decide you can't, let me know. I may have a site for you.
Okay.
Cool.
I was wondering about Canton. There's a couple of pretty large clubs down there. Are they not testing?
There was nothing on the site for exams in that area.
Massillon?
Nope. Nope. I did a 50-mile radius search from Wadsworth, and everything is north and west.
No, Mattson has been doing exams, and so has the Canton group.
It's there. They haven't had one posted on the
They may not
on their
be
website.
part of the ARRL exam.
Looks like Warren, they don't advertise it. They don't list it on ARRL because they're too lazy to do it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's the last Sunday of the month.
Yeah. Well, but that's probably, I don't think people know that, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, I mean, the Canton,
Certainly are going to know.
what?
New hams.
Right.
People who get a license aren't.
And the Canton one is just an example. I mean, we may find that there's plenty of exam testing out there, and we don't need to do it, right? But yeah, but that was just based on, I mean, because I looked on ARRL and on the exam tools site, and there wasn't anything listed for that area through the rest of this year and into the beginning of next year. So
Usually the next year doesn't show up this early.
well, but there wasn't anything listed for the last 4 months of this year either. So, like I said, I mean, we're going to do more testing. The location is
doing one over further east.
Well, PCARS does them.
Well, PCARS does Kent, but there's a lot of Southern Summit over there.
Yeah.
Because Pioneer.
Yeah, Dunning and Firestone was one of the ones we had talked about.
Yeah, so that was a convenient site and it was easy to get to off the expressway system.
Yeah. All right. So 2022 fiscal planning. We've had a really good growth in the last 2 years. We had some pretty good conversations on, does the past dictate the future? We don't want to commit to doing too much stuff and have our membership fall away. So don't leave. Send in your renewals. No, but most of SARA's revenue is in the form of dues. I mean, probably more than 80% of it at least. We do make some money on the apparel sales. We make some money on the 50/50, but it's a small portion of our revenue. Our revenue comes almost exclusively from dues. And part of the changes that we're going to talk about is that we've been having some conversations over the last couple of months of how do we retain the members that we have. We're up to 126, I think, is what I saw when I looked.
Yeah, I guess right.
We have 126 members now. How do we retain them, and how do we attract new members? We kind of have a good thing going. We want to make sure that we're going to capitalize on that. We have invested heavily in the last 3 years in repeater operations, which is sort of our mainstay, and we're going to continue to do that. But I think as many people know, we've also put a tremendous amount of money into our field day setup. We have the filters and the triplexers, and we got the new that broadbanded antenna that we used this year. So we were basically talking about SARA priorities in 2022. So repeater operations is always going to be one of our core functionality. We did decide that we're going to pause buying any new equipment for field day. Obviously, we're still going to rent the hall and the food, have our usual field day, but we're not going to deploy anything new there, for a couple of years. And we're really going to take a look at where we see some of the other activities that we're looking at going, because we do want to have some funds to put towards some of those other go-to kind of activities that we were talking about. So that's been an ongoing topic of conversation as well. We do have two special topics I'll get to in a minute on the executive committee, but for what I covered, is there any questions about the executive committee report?
I got a question. You talked about activities and stuff, and where we've been doing field day. Is that all available any other time?
We can rent it. It's $300 to rent it for the weekend. I mean, it's not the cheapest place, but it's a fairly good deal.
Something that we want to do something outside. We have the capability to say, let's take this out and check it out, or do something like that for some kind of a little broader activity or something.
Yeah, I mean, so we have a couple options we've looked at. Obviously, we can get the Legion Hall with enough notice, right? We have to book that in advance. It's pretty easy for us to get into like Silvercreek Metro Park. There's a lot of the shelter areas themselves are nice, and with a little bit of direction, there's actually some other clearings and fields where we could kind of pull off and do some stuff. I'm trying to think. We did look at some other stuff. There is the Doylestown Park. We had looked at that. I forget what for now. So there's a couple different venues. We can get this room like for an indoor venue. We can usually get this on a Saturday morning, for example. So we have some options here. But we are trying to kind of stick, because again, this is still sort of the geographic center of our club. So we're trying to stay kind of right here in the Wadsworth, Norton, Rittman, like that kind of area. So anything else?
Medina Veterans Hall is a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
It's a much nicer. Well, it's a pretty nice place.
That's pretty far from a lot of our members,
than
though.
what field day was.
Yeah.
And it's only a few miles from here.
Yeah.
But just something to think about.
Anything else in the executive club, or executive committee?
I don't know if anybody noticed the thing that Doug Hunter put out. He had a little thing on Facebook about what's going on down at the fair, Wayne County Fair.
Oh, the observation booth.
Yeah, he had today. He broadcast down there, and he had his phone out, and he was showing everything that he's talking about how ham radio operators are down there manning the booth.
Mm-hmm.
And so he brought ham radio guys up quite a bit, trying to push that. So, and how they were able to observe somebody that they actually used it to where somebody actually passed out coming out of the building, and they right away spotted it and got somebody on it. So it was kind of a good PR type thing there too. So
Mm-hmm.
he was on top of it.
He's online right now, by the way, responding. Doug.
All right. Second report, technical committee. A couple quick hit items. Marty Baker, N8XPK, and Gary went out, I guess 2 weekends ago now, and a while back we had been given a donation of some batteries from the city of Akron, and then COVID, for everything, then COVID. But a couple weeks ago, we got in the club bought a new, basically float charger power system to put onto that, some breakers. So all of the repeater equipment is now on a set of acid batteries. I don't know. I think we guess runtime would probably be, I think he said 4 to 6 hours.
Upwards, depending, could be 8 hours.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on how healthy those batteries actually are, which we really don't know.
Yeah.
And how much use they're. Well, that's true. Yeah.
So we put that survey out a couple months ago, talking about what people would like to see the repeaters do. As I think I mentioned last week or last month, it was mostly ambivalent. We kind of got mostly either way, it's fine with me. So we have decided that is going to remain as a multi-mode digital machine. Most of its use is system fusion. So, and we are still trying to figure out why we get the desense issue. I'm hoping to make it out there in the coming weeks with some more equipment to try to figure that one out. We are actively in communication now with the property owner who's has the interference on the input of the repeater. Marty's heading that up as well. He's had a conversation with the property owner, and then he was out of town. So I think when he's back, he's going to go out there and see if we can find it. And then we can get rid of the crackle over and over again. Another thing that we've decided to do is to make our system a little bit more robust. The existing controller right now directly is a Raspberry Pi with an audio board and is running ham VoIP. It does work very well. It is a little finicky to keep running from time to time. You do have to reboot it and things like that from time to time. And it does require some specialized Linux knowledge. And what we decided to do is we are going to put in a new controller on 3.9 directly. It's going to be it's an SCOM 7330, which is sort of the top of the line for amateur radio repeater controllers. It is a 3-port controller. So basically you can have up to 3 radios on it that can either be independent or mixed together. What we are going to do with this is mix it, have the repeater itself on one radio port and have a RF-less all-star node sitting on another port, and then that audio will get mixed together. So we'll still have the linking capability. It'll just be not glued directly onto the radio unit. We will be keeping, and a matter of fact, we're going to replace with a new one, the MyCore squelch that we have on the Bridgecom. So, we have that nice crisp squelch on there. And there is that, if you have a good speaker and good ears, you can kind of hear there's like a little bit of electronic whine noise that's always in the background of 3.9 that we've taken multiple runs at trying to get rid of. But so hopefully this is going to get rid of that with that noise. So this is in flight. This will probably get installed sometime probably in October by the time we get everything pieced together. I'm actually building it at my house. I'm going to get it all programmed and tested out and working, and then we'll just kind of do a one-for-one swap Sunday. I'll tell you.
Cut and paste.
Yep. All right. Any questions on the tech committee report? All right. So as I mentioned, we've been growing, right? And we've been having some discussions in the executive committee about what positions SARA best moving into 2022 and beyond. We want to get more people involved in club activities. And I think in a lot of cases, people aren't always clear on how and when they can get involved with things. And we also want to harness our membership. We have a lot of members who are interested in doing things. How do we harness that desire for people to do more? So what we've decided to do is we're going to adopt initially 3 standing committees. Each of these committees is going to have a team of 5 to 10 people, and we're not setting a hard number. So if there's 12 people that are interested in the committee can have 12 people. But we're looking to get each team staffed initially with 5 to 10 people to do some different things for the club. And I want to be really clear about this. These are not intended to be committees of experts, right? This is for everybody in the club to get involved. You don't have to be a radio expert. You don't have to be the best social planner or a great educator. We're looking for people to get involved. There's always stuff for people to do. So this is not like the expert committee. So we're going to have 3 committees. One's going to be the operating committee. One's going to be the social committee. One's going to be the educational committee. For any of these committees, you don't have to be an expert. You know, if you're an operator, if you're on the operating committee, you don't have to be a hardcore contester. If you're on the educational committee, you don't have to be an educator, right? We're looking for people to get involved, to dip their toe in, and it's kind of one of those snowball effect. Once you kind of get into it and kind of get used to doing it, you'll keep doing it, and we'll get more people involved that way. So there's going to be 3 clubs, and each one of them is actually going to have a committee chairman that's going to oversee the operations of that committee. And then those committee chairs will actually meet with the executive committee when we have our executive committee meetings. So the first committee is going to be an operating committee. So the on-air activities of the club. So this is what I was mentioned before. We were going to have our go-to activities. This committee, for example, is going to replace our historic field day chairman position. So the operations committee will be the committee that's going to put on all of these activities. That committee will be charged with doing field day and simplex by the executive committee, but the interest is in doing other tasks as well. Chris couldn't make it tonight. I have talked to him. He's really excited about this. He already has some ideas. I think this is going to be good. Chris is going to be the chair of that. I know there's a lot of people who have I think he's already been talking to people about getting involved in that. But again, you don't have to be an expert in this, right? If you want to help, you can always help, you can always learn. The next committee would be perfect to head this committee up. Eventually I will step down as president, and then he'd get bumped out of immediate past president spot. So we got to make sure we keep him around. That will include things like doing the food at field day, doing the field at the picnic. We have the party every year. Probably get 1 or 2 more social events to the club calendar, TBD. Gary's going to head that. Oh, and then this committee is also going to be in charge of the SARA apparel and branded products and things like that. There's a push for Gary to offer a very nice coffee mug with the SARA logo on it.
At least one thing you want about things happening early in the morning.
It'll have our logo and it'll say that ungodly hour.
If you're a night owl, this will be the committee for you. And then the third committee that we're going to have is the education committee, and that's going to be headed up by Jeff. The education committee is going to take over all of the aspects of education and the non-operating activities of the club. So in 2022, the education committee is going to be the committee that's planning the talks at the meetings, not necessarily delivering them. Again, you don't have to be an expert, right? But the people that are going to get speakers, get topics, find people to talk on them, those kind of things. Get speakers, get topics, find people to talk on them, those kind of things. They're also going to take over all the build projects. We want to offer building activities, build projects, test days, things like that. And finally, we're also going to encourage people, if you have some writing skills, we're looking for people to help develop content. Now, I want to be clear on this. You don't have to be a web expert to help develop the content. We need people to write the content, and we'll take care of getting it in the proper format. But we're looking for some people who have a passion for writing or explaining things. That could be a way for you to get involved. Even maybe if you don't have a lot of skills in RF, you can learn by writing about it. So we have approved the committee and the committee chair to start developing action plans, because the plan is we want to hit the ground running in January. We're also going to start recruiting members. We kind of have some people who have expressed interests in different areas over the last couple of months. We have those on a list. But as I said before, these committees are open to everybody, right? If you have an interest in one of the committees, either talk to one of the committee chairs that was on the screen, or you can talk to me and I'll make sure we get you pointed in the right direction. We want to have the committees staffed up in November and then have a real action plan for what we're going to start hitting the ground in January. Now, obviously, you don't have to plan out the whole year by January, but like Ohio Simplex contest is in January. Like there's some stuff that we want to get hitting off the road, and then out of that, what we're going to see is this meeting will start to have, instead of new business, old business, we're going to start having committee, not necessarily by the committee chair, depending, because we don't want people's ability to attend a meeting to be the driving factor in some of these things. You can all listen to me talk for a couple hours, right? So I can give you the reports, but so this is kind of the plan. Now we have more people. We want to do more. We want to bring more people in. This is what the committee or the executive committee has come up with. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any feelings? Everyone's just staring at me. So I think this should be good. I think this is going to really give a way for a lot more people to get involved, because I know there's a lot of people that want to get involved and they say, I don't always know how, or I don't know it's happening until whatever. This is how we want to get more people involved in those kind of things.
And this committee list could grow. We're starting with 3.
Right.
We think are covering the bases, but down the road, it could morph into a bit more complex organization, meaning that we can splinter off different things as the need develops. And the idea is that everybody in the club should have a niche somewhere where they're comfortable in participating and being part of the overall effort. So that's the idea. Mm-hmm. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and like I said, no experience necessary, right? We're building these new organizations fresh, so don't be shy. And you can be in more than one committee if you want. So, all right. Scott's going to talk more about this, but the other thing that we've discussed in the executive committee is that we don't always talk enough about ARRL itself. So if you don't know, which hopefully everyone does, but ARRL is the national organization for amateur radio, right? I mean, they're the ones who are, they drive a lot of especially federal level engagement for amateur radio. And SARA is an ARRL affiliated club and a special service club. An affiliated club is affiliated with the ARRL. It receives some certain benefits. But a special service club, this is the definition right off the website. Basically, it's a club that's active, right? They want to do things for the members, for amateur radio. I think they put it there, the leaders in the amateur radio community, right? And we do a lot of these things, and we're proud of the work we do with these. But we do want to make sure that we are supporting the ARRL as well as much as they support us. So we do have 125 members. 62% of them are actually ARRL members, which is pretty good. Always like to see that number get a little higher. And these are some of the benefits, right? If you're familiar at all with any of the politics that goes on, right? One of the biggest things that's going on right now is talking about like all the next generation wireless networks, 5G, 6G, all the Gs, right? And I think a lot of people, when they think about spectrum space, they think about kind of the HF spectrum, right? 50 megahertz and down. That's interesting space, but that's not where all the action is right now, right? A lot of the mobile carriers are looking at those higher level frequencies up into the gigahertz frequencies where amateurs have and do different work. So that's a hot topic right now that the ARRL, they engage with the Federal Communications Commission with experts. It's not just some guy who volunteered to go talk to the FCC. I mean, these are, PhDs in RF engineering who are engaging in policy discussions with policymakers. They do operate the QSL Bureau as we do operating activities. We're hoping more of you are going to want to fill out QSL cards and send them all across the world. The QSL Bureau is a great way to do that. It's pretty inexpensive. You do have to be a member to use it. The ARRL publications, the free ones are really good. QST Magazine's great. They have one that's called On the Air, which is for new hams. That's also very good if you're a new ham. You also now get QEX, which is the experimental magazine, and National Contest Journal, which is a publication for contesters, and you can get them all free on the app, the ARRL app now. Matter of fact, you can actually stop getting paper QST, and I actually just fire it up on my tablet and read it when the new issue comes out. And obviously, you get to vote for Scott and other people when they're up for elections too. So ARRL is, it's $49 a year. Helps support really ARRL is the only organization that's advocating for amateur radio nationwide. There's good clubs, there's other large clubs that do certain things, but ARRL kind of is, it's the radio society for the United States, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason, also, you don't necessarily have to pay $49 every year. I went ahead, I belong to ARRL, and I paid 3 years one, and I'm good until 2024.
Yeah, you do get a slight discount for if you prepay multipliers.
Yeah, I think that's what she said.
Yeah.
And if you're young enough, getting a life membership is very cost effective.
That's right. They were talking about that too.
Yep. And then
You can do that.
yeah, I'm gonna let you do that. I'm just warming up the crowd for you, Scott.
You gotta do a few magic tricks if you want to do that.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, we've talked about this before. If you buy stuff on Amazon, I buy an amazing amount of stuff on Amazon, and I didn't really realize that until my neighbor made a comment one time about he counts the Amazon trucks that go to my house in a given week. Amazon has a program called Smile that is a charitable giving. If you register with Smile and you shop through the Smile portal, which is exactly Amazon with just the word Smile in front of it. I don't remember what the percentage is, but I signed up for this, I think 2 years ago, and through purchasing, Amazon's donated $72.58, which I don't know that I want to back out of what the percentage of money that I spent with Amazon to.
Might be ginger up with your wife.
Yeah, well, she's just as bad as I am, so that's both of us.
You support the ARRL too?
She
or
does.
other?
Yeah. But so ARRL has made $54,000 from Smile, so it's an easy way to give to the league as well. I'm not going to take any questions on that because I'm sure Scott will generate some questions. So we are going to. That's going to kind of be the end of the meeting. Again, in big yellow bold things. Don't forget next month we're on the fourth Thursday here. 50-50.
Get out your pink ticket.
Orange tickets. Pink tickets.
Every month.
You can't take them anywhere.
Look at $85.
Woohoo!
So the winner's gonna get 43. The club's gonna get 42.
Wait, you got someone who didn't split their tickets.
That makes them up well.
What have you been doing?
It didn't say. Partial instructions. No errors.
It's a neural
If
50-50.
you fold your ticket before you put it in, I find them and straighten them out. Doesn't matter which one you turn.
Look quite the same.
I just noticed that. How did you manage to know?
I don't know, this is brand new road.
What'd you do? There's no numbers on them.
Not all of them.
Oh, it's a red contest.
There's more than one flag.
You know, you just can't trust.
Does anybody else have tickets with no numbers?
I have one ticket.
Let's get the 85, 86, and 7.
It's gonna be hard to get a winner that way.
Yeah, it is.
There was a question about the quality of Russ's tickets at the picnic.
There was.
The club might need to invest in a higher quality 50-50 ticket.
Our next committee is to look at every number on every ticket before Russ actually starts selling them.
We need an audit committee.
That's right.
Ticket audit committee.
They can they can certify the results of the 50-50
Yeah,
raffle.
can we have some recounts?
Aaron doesn't win, he jumps up, I want to recount.
Hey, chat tickets.
I was just gonna say something.
He said it first. I took it first. Always give credit where credit's due.
Where'd you get these tickets?
Dollar Tree.
You know what I did.
Hey, Russ, just because a roll is sold for $1 doesn't mean it's a good buy. $89.
Yes, you got the roll.
What did we get for $12?
Yeah,
One with most of the numbers.
Maybe our numbers were with the.
The $15 bundle has a 99% has a number guarantee
That's
on
right.
the ticket.
At least one ticket will win.
Yeah.
We checked it under Six Sigma, so 99.7% is right.
Oh, wait, those.
Russ will be
black ones were the ones
Russ
that
has to
had
become a
black
Six
light on,
Sigma
right?
black belt for the quality.
That's what it was. All right.
I got one blank one here.
Just give them what amount they didn't have.
Did you write any?
Not a whole.
You got numbers on this? No, you don't. Oh, that one you.
Wanna do this again, just so we can-
Do you have?
I don't want to disrupt the meeting. We can do another round.
So it just charges up.
Okay.
So I'm just.
You don't have
Yeah,
it.
And then I will, you go on to, I'll send you, just go on to pay here. How you charge it up, how you sync it, you can put the app on, and then I'll give you the list to get, you can just do that remotely.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah, send that to me. Awesome, thanks, man.
Anybody else have blank ones?
We don't go under, we don't.
Well, I think.
All right, Russ is gonna pull a ticket and put this to bed.
Okay, nope, I think it's got it.
Oh, that's me.
You.
0279946.
What? 799.
I read that 46.
Zeke's got it.
For Pete's sake.
All right, good.
Should be 43.
Pretty good.
All right. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second from Bill. All those in favor of adjourning the official meeting?
Aye.
Anyone not want to adjourn?
No, let's go another round.
Who was first and second? Steph and
That
then
was
Bill.
first, and then Bill.
N8LTR. All right, with that, Scott Yonley, Vice Director of the Great Lakes Community.
Well, Jason asked me to kind of give you a rundown about why the importance of clubs and so on. Sure. And, you know, I'm an hour away, and as I was driving up here tonight, I was thinking, well, you know, how do I really emphasize the importance of clubs? So I came up with one way. I want to ask, now, not everybody belongs to a club. Well, how many people belong to at least one club? Raise your hands. Okay, that's great. How many people belong to 2? 3, 4, 5.
Wait a minute, what kind of club? Any kind of club?
Well, ham radio. Ham radio club. Okay. We're gonna limit it to just ham radio. Okay. So,
How many clubs do you belong to in total?
okay. So you know that this is a guy who is dedicated to clubs and not just somebody up here just spewing out a bunch of garbage to you about, you know, the importance of clubs. And he doesn't belong to one. I belong to 5. Yeah, 5 here in Ohio alone. I belong to 2 in Kentucky and 2 in Michigan as well. That's how much I believe in clubs and how important they are. They're the lifeblood of ARRL. Now, I'm going to ask the next question, and please, you know, don't take offense to it, but how many are life members? Okay. How many want to be life members? Okay. Now, ARRL, I'm sorry?
What's the cost?
Okay, life member is $49 times 25. So $1,225. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Okay. Now, there's 2 new plans here, or I should say one new plan and one that was been revitalized. If you want to belong and you think that it's worth your time and your effort, if you're at the right age and so on and can afford it, actually ARRL has brought back the payment plan. So you can spend that $1,225 over 24 different payments and 24 months. Okay, so
Can we get a refund?
Yeah.
you'll make it. Trust me, you'll make it. But the key here is that it would only cost you $50 a month for 24 months. Then you're a life member and you never pay those dues again. Now, one little secret about the life membership. If your spouse is a member, doesn't have to be a life member, but if they are a member of ARRL and they precede you in life, okay, they can actually take over your life membership and become that life member still. So that's a pretty good thing, because that means your life membership continues on, even though you may not. It still continues on. So there's a lot of life into that. No joke or pun intended, trust me. Now, if you are 70 years and have paid your dues consecutively for 25, there is a discounted rate. Okay? And they will give you a very deep discount rate on your life membership. So those are the 2 newest programs, or the 2 programs I wanted to talk to about life memberships that really do impact a lot of people. Now, I know a lot of folks say $49 is an awful lot of money. Well, I've got a deal for you. If you put your thinking caps back on and go back about 10, 15 years ago, McDonald's used to come up with, you know, for $5, we will sell you a hamburger, a French fry, and a Coke and give you change back. Well, I've got the same deal with McDonald's. Okay? McDonald's coffee is about $1. Now, some places a little more, some a little less, but we'll average it at about $1. You take 1 McDonald's coffee off a week, I'll pay your dues and give you $3 back. How's that for a deal? Okay? And I'm using McDonald's, and I'm going to give you change back, just like they did, or like they used to promise. They don't do that anymore, but they used to promise that anyway. But I just kind of wanted to emphasize, you know, the guy standing here, yeah, I believe firmly in clubs. When I came up through the ranks back in the day, and I know I sound like an old timer here now, okay, but there was just about no way of getting a license without going through a club to do it. Why? Because there were no study guides like there are today that gives you all the answers. You had to go through classes, about 8 to 10 weeks of classes. That was the only way you could do it back then. We've advanced it way up and way forward now, so at least you can study at home and get some idea of what's going to be expected and so on. When I walked into the FCC field office to take my novice test, had no clue what I was getting into 40 some odd years ago. But let me tell you, it's been a lifelong learning process. It really has. Now, for those of you who say, well, it's a lot of studying and this and that, and once I get my license, I'm done. Boy, have I got news for you, because once you get your license, it just begins. Because, you know, just like you were saying, how do I get involved with going out and doing this bicycle race? I've never done anything like this. How do I do that? Well, that starts your learning process. Because I'll tell you, once you start getting excited about that bicycle race and you start seeing the magical stuff that happens with amateur radio at races like that, Ken's not going to be able to hold you back. I'll tell you, it does. It excites you. My first race, and this goes way back too, my first race wasn't a bicycle race. It was a midnight to 12 in the afternoon, or 12 noon, SCCA race.
Where?
Where?
Yeah.
Back down in Mohican and all the backwoods county woods back in Ashland and Richland County down there. And they would run all night long. Well, you know, yeah, exactly. Having those cars out in the middle of no man's land was kind of dangerous. You know, because if they quit, which, you know, SCCA cars, you know, they're race cars, but they're actually street cars, and they take the exhaust off and then they make them race cars out of them. Well, you know, it's kind of dangerous in the middle of the night, because you got deer, you got all kinds of wild animals running around loose down there and everything else. So they asked the Ham Radio Club to come with them. So they put one of us in each one of those cars, and we'd run all night long. Hey, it sounds like, oh man, no, it was a lot of fun. It really was. It was just a blast. Now where I'm from Richland County, and we have a race car course down there called Mid-Ohio. Okay, we're the only place in Ohio where NASCAR runs. But they used to do, now they don't anymore, they used to do like a Le Mans race, and they'd run all night long. It was a 24-hour race. And we do communications for that. I sat on a speed gun most of the night. And as they come around that one hairpin curve and came down that back straightaway, they'd be going 100, 150 miles an hour. Sounds like a lot of speed. Well, the most fun I ever had was when they do the super bike races down there. These are big super motorcycles. And those motorcycles would do 100, or not 125, they would do 225 miles an hour on that back straightaway. They were screaming. A couple of times, they actually went faster than the speed gun could record them. So, but just stuff like that gets you involved in the magic of amateur radio and the magic of nets and how net control operates, and we stay all within good communications of each other. That's what the community of a club is all about, providing that activity. Jason is, I'm just sitting here like, wow, you guys are just way over the top with this proposal. I love it, to be honest with you, because it's the right idea. It's the right way to go. And I will tell you, being on the board of directors now, we are actually, I think you must have either taken their playbook or they took ours, because they're doing exactly the same thing. And they started out by adding a new standing committee, which is called the NCOM Field Services Committee. And we are going to rebuild not only NCOM, but we're going to rebuild clubs and that type of thing too. We're looking at a broad base of all the stuff we're going to rebuild. And it's starting out just like this. Okay. I mean, like I said, I think you took the playbook or they stole yours. I'm not sure, but either way, it's a great thing when you can do those kind of things and get the whole object here is just to get everybody involved. Okay. That's the whole object. Because I will tell you, if it's not fun, you're not going to do it. There's just no way, because it's work. You got a job. You don't need to come to do work here. So you got to make it fun, and that's what they're doing. Now, and I'm going to pick on you a little bit, and I apologize ahead of it. Please don't, but I know you're new, and how long have you been licensed?
Since December.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
But I didn't talk on the radio because I didn't know how, and I still
Okay.
kind of don't know how. I had Chris help me.
Well, you know, that was kind of the cool thing in a way with when we had classes with the clubs back in the day, because that was some of the things they taught us. They taught us, you know, okay, and especially repeaterisms. I still, because the guy teaching the course was the repeater trustee. So he would teach you as you were going along and learning the rules and learning what frequencies you can operate on. He was teaching you also on proper etiquette. You know, you don't say this and you don't do that, and you wait for this guy, or you wait for an opening or whatever, you know, and that type of thing. And that's what it was all about. That's why it's so important to get clubs back into teaching amateur radio again. Okay, and I'm going to push you guys on that, because I know you want to rebuild this, and this is a one way, is you need to be teaching people. Now, there's another person in this room I'm going to start picking on here shortly, and that's when we start talking about income. And he already knows what I'm going to start saying. So income is one of the most vital, important factors of amateur radio, and I'll tell you why. Part 97.1 explains exactly what our basis and purpose is, and it says to serve. Now, I'm going to tell you something. One of my pet peeves is to hear people say, this is a hobby. Nope, it's not a hobby. It just isn't. Never was, never will be. You know why? Because Part 97 says it isn't. We're a service. Service to who? Well, Jason said it best. A service to your community first. Okay? Your served agencies in your community. That's where your service becomes. How do I know that? Because Part 97.1 says so. We're here to provide those communications when either the communication system is overloaded or non-existent. Now, that's a very specific statement to make, because we're not here to replace an existing system that's already working. So we don't go rushing off down to the police station and say, here we are, we're communicators, we're going to come in and take over. No. We are called upon when the police department has no communications, the same way as the fire department or EMA or whatever. That's what our duty is. And there is a gentleman in this room that fits that bill probably better than any one of us or all of us combined. George? You want to tell them what you do today? How you started just a few years back?
I'm second renewal on my license. I started a ham, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago. But when I got my license, my general class license, I joined Navy Marine Corps Mars. I was also a DHS shares operator. That's Homeland Security shares, high frequency operator. So I still do that, the shares operator. And I, volunteered with the Red Cross, and I deployed and did a whole bunch of things like Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Irene, a whole bunch of tornadoes. I deployed to Haiti when they had the earthquake in 2010. And my latest, and now my wife doesn't let me do this stuff anymore. But when Hurricane Irma hit the Virgin Islands and then tore up Florida and everybody, they needed relief operators. Tim Duffy from DX Engineering was looking for people to deploy down and help out and get a relief. So I volunteered. Dennis Conklin called me up and asked me if I'd go. I said, sure, I'll go. So I went down there and to St. Croix as a relief operator. I got there on a Sunday, the seventh day after Irma tore everything up on St. John. And they asked me to go over to St. John and be an operator over there. Their EOC was totally off the air. There was no infrastructure at all. There was crime, homicides, all kinds of stuff. So I went over there, took a 37-mile open ocean boat ride in a little boat, and that was kind of really fun. I wish I could have trolled my way there. So I got there, and basically there was one ham left on St. John that had 2-meter ops with St. Croix, and his station was severely damaged. And so I was gonna go over and help him and relieve him so he can go out and do other things to put the island back on the air. So the short story is I went over there, met him, and, you know, I went to his house. We were 450 feet above Cruz Bay. You were looking down on the town of Cruz Bay, we were on the side of a mountain. And everything was totally tore up. We come in on Coral Bay side, hundreds and hundreds of boats were sunk, hundreds and hundreds of boats were blown up into the mangrove forest. There was no critical infrastructure. There was no comms, there was no power. The police department was sparse. There was civil disorder, a lot of thefts. And so I went to help. The short story is I got there and we fixed his station, put him back on the air, 2-meter up. At that time, this is right after Irma. At that time, they wanted to add a net on 5346.5 upper sideband HF, and the guy that I was with had no HF capability. So I cut him a wire for that frequency with little ICOM 7000, and we got on the air with that, and we had everybody. We had San Juan, all the island, all the surrounding Virgin Islands, the British Virgin Islands. Everything started, the wheels started to come back on the wagon. 4 days later, we get a message that Hurricane Maria is inbound right at St. John, like 12 days after Irma. And so we rode that out. We rehardened our little cabin and went through all of that. Then that passed. The point being, ladies and gentlemen, if it wasn't for the ham radio operators, not me, but the ham radio operators, okay, there was absolutely no communications with EOC St. Croix. EOC St. Croix also had Air Wing. Chief Stevens, fire chief from Christiansted, he had the United States Navy and he had the United States Air Force as his air wing. This is a major, major op, okay? And I was blessed to see the incident command system up close and personal. And I can't push that enough for you folks to get your ICS course, okay? The short story is, you know, we all survived. Ham radio operators, if it wasn't for them, okay, it just would have been terrible. FEMA showed up later with a MERS vehicle, emergency response vehicle, comms. But if it wasn't for those ham radio operators, okay, they would have had nothing. We were, our little cottage on the hill was EOC St. John, and we reported directly to, you know, EOC St. Croix, who was where the incident commander was. It was really a learning experience. And to go back before that, okay, Haiti, when the earthquake happened in Haiti in January 2010, same thing, all critical infrastructure was totally destroyed. I was lucky enough to be one of the 5 Mars operators that got to go over there. Okay, and the only reason the word got out initially was because 1 or 2 ham radio operators in Haiti still had comms with their HF radio. The one guy, Jean-Robert Boulard, HH2JR, his radio worked. He called 14300 Mobile Maritime Net and said, we just went through this earthquake, and he rang the bell. The Navy showed up and everybody showed up. So if it wasn't for the ham radio operators, I cannot tell you the importance. It's more than just a hobby, okay? Scott knows, you know, it's life-saving. It's life-saving. So.
And notice what he said. This whole time, it was not to replace, not even to supplement. It was to give communications where there weren't any. So please keep that in mind. Now, we thank George for all of his service, because believe me, George, you were just promoted.
I was.
Yeah, you just got a new job, right?
I did, but right now that's kind of like on hold. To go back, what Scott's talking about, FEMA, after the 2017, they were totally overwhelmed. The government was overwhelmed. We had Hurricane Harvey, we had Hurricane Irma, then we had Hurricane Maria, and they emptied out all the FEMA headquarters and everything because they were out of people. So now after their after action report, FEMA, Homeland Security decided to hire 200 extra reserve HF comm managers to deploy and basically be an emergency radio operator. They wanted 200. I was one of the first 4 that were hired. So they just need them. And, they know with wildfires and hurricanes and earthquakes and stuff like that, stuff goes down. Okay. Repeaters are great, but you get a snowstorm, you get a tornado, you get an ice storm. Okay, you're out of business. Right. 800 trunks go down, everything goes down. And so
Now, for you, you have a small HT, I presume, or some sort of a radio already. Okay, George just mentioned snowstorms. 2 years ago, we had Snowmageddon that came about, and what you probably don't know, and a lot of you may not know, is we had just signed up an agreement between us and the watch desk for the state EMA. And what our responsibility in the wintertime is to provide that out the window view of what you're experiencing as far as snow. That way they could feed that into the state database and feed that out to, on WebEOC, they can feed that out to all 88 of their EMA directors. Okay, so back in that January day, it was nice and cold, and the wind was blowing and everything, and there was a promise of this huge, huge snowstorm. And up here, you guys didn't see but just a pittering of the snow. Down in the southern Ohio district, they didn't see anything but a little bit of rain. Where I live in central Ohio, we got blasted with 18.5 inches of snow that day, okay? So that all went into the watch desk, and of course, that report got out to the EMA directors where those counties were affected. But not only that, those reports then were sent eastward where the storm was going over to eastern Pennsylvania, or western Pennsylvania, then on into western New York, and then on out. So that's how vital sometimes those reports can be. And it's doing nothing other than take a look out your front window. What's it doing? So that's how important we can be. Now, I know all of us have sat around and we all think we know, but I'm going to ask the question, does everybody know what the ARRL is? Have you ever heard of it? Okay, how many don't know? I guess that might be the better way to go. Okay, everybody's heard of the ARRL. Fantastic. So you all know the history. I don't have to go through the history. Okay, it's a little over 100 years old. It was started by Hiram Piercy Maxim and Clarence Tuska, right? Back in 1914. So we're, 107 years old now? And do you all know how or why the purpose was for starting the club?
Relaying messages.
Relay messages. Okay. Why?
Because at the time, communications weren't that long distance.
Well, that's not true. That's not true. We were the avenue to relay the messages across the country for free, where Western Union was charging. And there wasn't always a Western Union office where that message had to go. But as funny as this may sound, there was a ham operator usually. So we provided, again, that service where it didn't exist way back when. Now, how many of you know the story of Hiram Piercy Maxim?
I read it.
Okay. Well, when you get out in your car tonight, thank him. Thank him for the drive home, the peaceful drive home that you have, and being able to play your radio as loud or as quiet as you want, because he's the guy that invented the muffler on your car. He is. He invented the muffler. Now, his father, Hiram Piercy, or Hiram
Ira Maxim, I guess it is. He's also a very famous inventor for a similar object. And those of us who have guns and play with guns and stuff, he's the one that invented the silencer. Okay? So these guys are really pretty cool when you get right down to, they're like the Orville and Wilbur Wright. So they created the ARRL to relay messages across the country. And that's really what ARRL is all about, even today. That's our responsibility as traffic and handlers. Okay, we call it traffic. Okay, it's a message. It can be a birthday gram, it can be just about anything you want. But that message sometimes, and I know George is familiar with this, ARRL1. Okay, that is probably the one that I have sent the most of in my many, many years, and that's, I am fine, I will contact you later. Okay, that you use when you have the hurricanes and that kind of stuff, to let your family know you're okay. Okay, you're still here. Can't call you on the cell phone right now because there isn't one, but hey, we'll get you a message when we can. But I want you to know.
Cross has adopted that years later.
Yes, they did.
Public wellness.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
They sure did. Yeah. Okay, well, one of the questions that's always asked of me, okay, how many hams do we have licensed in the United States right now? Well, as of midnight last night, there were 779,648. So we've got just about 780,000 hams. I'm going to go through some statistics real quick. The 5 largest states for radio amateurs. This one may surprise some of you. California has 105,000. They're number 1. Texas is number 2. And there's kind of a disparity because we go from 105,000 down to 55,000, but that's the break. Number 3 is Florida. Well, that figures because all the snowbirds from up here are going down there, right? Florida has actually 43,000. The state of Washington, which always surprises me, because you look at the Northwest up there and you think, man, it can't be that well popular, but by golly, for ham radio operators, it sure is. There's 35,000 amateur radio operators up there. Now, can anybody guess what's the 5th state? Yeah, Ohio. We're the 5th largest in the country, and we have just about 28,500 right now. So we're growing, and part of that's due to the club and getting new members and getting new amateurs involved. Okay. Now, one of the neat statistics I always get a kick out of, these 5 states, they make up 34% of all the amateurs in the country. 1/3 of all the amateurs in the country come from those 5 states, and Ohio is among them. Isn't that neat? That's really pretty cool. Now, for ARRL members, we have just about 158,000, which makes up about 20%. That number is low. Folks, I'd like to see that number be 100%. ARRL is the only organization that fights for your frequencies. Not only your frequencies, but your modes. Most recent mode change, we got a 60-day change in the baud rate. Now, they're looking at that right now, and I can tell you factually, we're using this last hurricane to help us push America up to where all the other countries in the world are, and that's getting off this 300 baud max ridiculous requirement, okay? They won't, here in America, we're not allowed to go above 300 baud. Well, quite frankly, that went out of tune back in the 1990s, if I remember right. I mean, even AOL goes faster than that now. But so they're using that as, you know, trying to pry that door open for us. So, but you know, the funny part is ARRL is the only one there. They're the only ones. Now you have we mentioned DX engineering, it's just, what do they do? Have they sent any money in? Have they argued over it? No. And it's not just that, but Kenwood, ICOM, they don't either. Neither does CQ Magazine, W5YI, any of those. ARRL is the only one that's doing that. Why? Because they're your advocate. They are the only ones that are your advocate. There's a lot of great companies out there, don't get me wrong. I love Tim Duffy's company, DX Engineering, because I buy all kinds of stuff from them and that. But when it comes to advocacy for our frequencies and our abilities to transmit different modes and that type of stuff, I belong to ARRL because of that. In fact, I'm a life member of ARRL. Actually, I'll use your bullet points. You're right, they are the advocates for amateur radio, federal and state levels. There's many different things that have come along over the months and years. I will tell you, I know it's deeply concerning for some of the technician class folks. They're saying, what happened to that advancement that we were promised? We're working on it. Now, I know you've heard that from time to time, but it's not us stalling it this time. Actually, it's been the FCC, because the FCC has sat on these proposals now for 2.5 years. We're pushing hard to get them off their can and actually talk about it. Now, once they start talking about it, the next step is to put that out for comment. So we're hoping that that comes either at the end of the year or at the beginning of the new year. But right now, we don't have a permanent FCC chairperson yet. The gal that's in the chairperson's position right now, she's just a temporary assignment. So once they get the permanent position filled, then maybe we can actually start talking these things in seriousness, like the baud rate and so on. So hopefully we can get there. Okay, I don't know how many of you, I know I've done this before. There are actually 71 sections within the country in ARRL that represent you. Sometimes it's a full state, like Ohio is, Kentucky and Michigan, and sometimes it's a partial, like Pennsylvania and New York. But there's actually 71 sections within the country, and each section has a section manager. And here in Ohio, Tom Sly, WBA LCD, is your section manager. Down in Kentucky, it's Steve Morgan, W4N, golly, I'll have to look at my notes here real quick. Yeah, in W4NHO, and up in Michigan, it's Jim Kovacic, KJK.
Tom's going to be here in November.
Fantastic, great, I'm tickled to hear that. Now, I will tell you something that has not been announced yet, but you will see very shortly, and I think I'm safe to say this right now. Jim Kovacic will be leaving his post as section manager in Michigan come soon. He works for AT&T, and they have asked him to go to Florida and work from Florida. So he kind of liked the job he was doing, and they said, you have a choice, you either retire or you come down to Florida. So he's working his way down to Florida now. So you'll probably see that within this next week or so, where Jim will be stepping down as section manager. I'll wait, and I won't make the announcement as to who is going to take his place, because that was due by the election. So that'll still be working through the election process, since up there, their elections come due now. Now, one of the things I know I've discussed at this meeting before, but since there are newer people here, kind of the cool thing about the Ohio section, it is the largest of ARRL members. It's the largest with the most ARRL members. We have about 5,900 ARRL members in the state of Ohio. We're actually larger than 2 full divisions, the Dakota and the Hudson division. Now, I'll talk about what a division is, so you kind of see the overall picture of how ARRL is managed, because it's a little different than what you really think. But anyway, we only need about 700 more ARRL members, and we'll even be larger than the Midwest division, with just a little over 12,000 ARRL members that we have right now. What makes up a division? Well, a division is made up of 3 or more sections. So we have these 71 sections, and they're divided up into divisions. Now, our division is got 3 states, Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky, within what's called the Great Lakes Division. How did Kentucky get into the Great Lakes Division? Beats me. Nobody seems to know at headquarters either. Somewhere along in about 1940s, Kentucky joined Michigan and Ohio into the Great Lakes section. We don't know how that happened, because that history kind of got lost somewhere along the line. But anyway, that is what makes up the Great Lake Division, is Ohio, Kentucky, and Michigan. Now, the director, who is the senior elected official for the division, is Dale Williams, WIAEFK, and I'm the vice director. So I'm Dale's second in command. And if anything would happen to Dale, it's sort of like the vice presidency. I take over immediately as being director. So the other fact that's kind of cool is the fact that the Great Lakes Division is the 7th largest out of 15 divisions. The Great Lakes Division is the 7th largest in the country. So we represent a lot of hands, and I hope you guys are satisfied with what we're doing for you. Okay, affiliated clubs, which you are one, and you guys are updated. I will tell you something that's kind of funny. This is my 4th speech of the week. And the other 3 clubs I gave the speech to, unfortunately, were not up to date. So I had to remind their club president, hey, you need to bring your club records up. There's 2,571 currently active affiliated clubs. Now, I will say the way Connecticut law works, and we are bound by Connecticut law because that's where our home headquarters is located, is in the state of Connecticut. Under an affiliation, once you are affiliated, you are always affiliated. Now, you noticed I said we have 2,571 active. So we have active and non-active clubs. But if you're non-active, that means you haven't been doing anything. So we really only look at what's active, you know, and we're concentrating, and that's part of the new program. We're going to start picking on, okay, those clubs out there that we know they're there, but they're not doing anything. They're not turning in reports. We don't hear from them. We don't know they exist anymore. Are they still around, or did they fade away? And a few have. There's been a few clubs have faded away. But for the most part, most of them are just kind of operating a little independently, and they just kind of going through the motion. They're not really doing what they need to do to be an affiliated club. And we want to pull them back into the fold and get that number up where it's supposed to be. And so part of what our committee is going to do is look into that. In fact, that is one of the things that the CEO has already charged 22 section managers throughout the country with. Go knock on the door to some of these non-active groups. Find out, why are they still non-active? And that's some of the things that's going on right now behind the scenes that we're going to change how we operate, okay, just like you folks are. So, like I said, it's kind of fun to watch this because, you know, quite frankly, another really neat statistic about Ohio is we have 115 affiliated clubs, the most in the country. Out of those 71 sections you hear, Ohio has more affiliated clubs than anywhere else in the country. Michigan actually comes in second in the Great Lakes Division. They have 89. You would think Michigan, you know, being up there with Detroit and all that, would have a whole lot of clubs, but they really don't. They have a few big clubs and a couple of small clubs, and that's really about what Michigan has. But if you think about it, when you get up into the Upper Peninsula, it gets pretty cold and all that up there in the wintertime. So I imagine I know they're pretty sparse up there for clubs and that kind of stuff. So makes sense. Now, Kentucky comes in the 3-man race. Kentucky comes in third. They have 32. Special Services Club, that holds another really uniqueism, if I can use that word, for Ohio. Why? Because it started here in Ohio. In fact, it started right up here in northeastern Ohio. A little gal by the name of Joanne Solak, KJ30. She came up with the idea back in the 1980s because she was our affiliated clubs coordinator here in Ohio for many years. And she came up with the idea, she wanted to have something special for those clubs that go above and beyond. Notice that phrase, above and beyond? Okay. What's above and beyond? Well, guess what? An affiliate club is only supposed to have 51% members, ARRL members, and that's all that's expected of them. Special Service Club is expected to have much more than that. They're to have community service involvement. They're to have club involvement. They're to have special projects for the club to do. Okay, notice that similarity to what he was putting up here on the board. You guys are already doing that. You have been doing that for a long time, and that's a great thing. Now, what makes a Special Service Club? Well, you know what? There's actually only 112 active Special Service Clubs in America right now. Just 112. That's all. I'm very proud to say that here in Ohio, we have 17. Again, we have the most. And this club is one of them. Be proud. Give yourself a clap. Give yourself a good round of applause. That's a heck of an accomplishment. You're among 17 clubs out of 115 here in Ohio. That's quite an accomplishment. Trust me. Please keep that going. We're trying. Good. Good deal. All right. Now, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, like I said, everybody knows I'm pretty new, right? And I wanted to just mention that Jason and Stephen made it really easy and inviting and made me want to join, just because they were helpful, informative, professional, and welcoming.
Right.
So.
And that's what we want from our special service clubs. And that's why we scrutinize that pretty hard.
Talking about Jason.
Gary, I paid her off.
That was even before I got licensed.
Yeah.
You know, he just made it so easy, and like I said, gave me a lot of information and made.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And there's so much that the clubs have to offer for you. Like I say, that education portion just starts when you become a ham. And belonging to a club, you'll get educated on, I mean, just tonight, you're learning things about ARRL you never knew probably. So this is an education for you. It doesn't always have to be that dull, boring, 4 times 5 is what, and that kind of, it can also be very fun and very exciting. One of these nights, I hope you have George with his adventure. I know you probably already have at one point.
He did it once.
But yeah, his adventure down into the Virgin Island area well, George, you just tell him how long you were there.
I was supposed to only be there a week. I got stranded for a month. And, the airport forgot to bring my bag with my meds and everything. So, but I did get that later. Somebody, on a fast boat brought it over from St. Croix and John.
Sometimes you get dropped off where you need to be.
Yeah.
I said, sometimes you get dropped off where you need to be.
You just gotta make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will tell you, during that period, I got I was the section manager for Ohio. And during that period, it was funny because I would get phone calls from folks saying, hey, I'll volunteer to go down. Okay, now, it's going to be. Okay.
Please be aware that the public computers will shut down 15 minutes before closing. At this time, please check out your library materials.
Oh, gotcha.
So we gotta be out here by 8:45.
Yeah, but at that time, they were saying, well, I can give you the weekend. George, how long did it take you to get down there?
So I flew right down there, out of Cleveland to, from Cleveland to San Juan to St. Croix. And that took pretty much a day. And then after I got to St. John, Maria showed up, I was stuck. I was marooned for almost a month.
Yeah. So, think about that. I mean, it's great, but also that could happen easily to you. So we may not always be able to get you back right on time. I'm just going to run over this publication.
That won't happen for the Guild Marathon, so it's okay.
But okay, one quick one that we do down in Mansfield. You've probably heard of the Miss Ohio pageant and the Miss America pageant. Well, we do in Mansfield the Miss Ohio pageant. So guys and gals, we get to line up the parade, okay? And the side benefit is we get to line up the very gorgeous girls and get them into the Corvettes and let them go down the street. And then we got guys at the end, they take them out of the Corvettes and take them and help escort them up onto the platform so that all 60 or 70 reps go.
How do you sign up for that?
It's very difficult because let me tell you, most of the guys that we never see any other time of the year, we see them.
You gotta have good tickets that have numbers on it.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna wrap it up. Is there any questions quickly that you may have? Because if there is, no problem. If there isn't.
Yeah, you say that ARRL advocates. Why don't you say they lobby?
Well, okay, they do. And I'm a lobbyist because I'm here to tell you about ARRL, which when you look up the word lobbyist, that's exactly what it amounts to. Ken is also a lobbyist. He's the emergency coordinator for your county, and he lobbies to get people involved in ARES, Amateur Radio Emergency Service. So we're all, and quite frankly, when you go out with Field Day, you now become a lobbyist as well, because when the public comes up and comes down to that Field Day site and looks around and picks you out of everybody and says, what is it you're doing? Okay, what are you doing there? You're lobbying for amateur radio.
Well, I was thinking more formally, like at the state legislature levy,
yep,
you have lobbyists at the federal level.
Yes.
You do.
Yes, we do.
Advocates doesn't quite, I don't think.
Well, it's called advocacy because that's what the new phrase term is nowadays.
Good thing, but I said to tell people what it means.
Yeah. Well, it's like we are getting away from the term Elmer because that's a unique term for amateur radio, and we are now saying mentor because everybody understands what mentor is. And advocacy is the same thing. It's not as harsh as a lobbyist. Okay, sort of like having a room full of lawyers,
I was thinking advocates doesn't carry the same message.
Oh, okay.
Well, advocates don't get paid. Lobbyists get the payout.
That's true too. You're absolutely correct. And we lobby, like myself and so on, we are volunteers. We're all 100% volunteers. So, guys, I know we got to wrap it up because it's now just about 15 minutes.
Something else.
Well, they're off right now.
Yeah, but
there's instruction on blinking or whatever, blinking blue.
and I did. It was blinking blue, but it never shows up here. So it's connected to. Usually that means it's connected to some other device.
There you go. It's totally off right now.